My father handed me my grandfather's company like it was some beautiful inheritance, then pushed a pen across the desk and told me, "Don't make this weird, Luna, just sign it." What he didn't say was that the company was sitting on almost $18 million in hidden debt, 2 lawsuits, unpaid vendor settlements, and a bridge loan he wanted me to personally guarantee by Friday. He wasn't giving me Grandpa's legacy. He was giving me the fire and asking me to stand inside it. And when I pulled the company out anyway, he came back to the same office and told me I had played CEO long enough. My name is Luna Mercer. I'm 32, I live in West Hartford, Connecticut, and until this happened, I thought the worst thing my family had done was make me feel unwanted. I was wrong. They had paperwork. My grandfather, Henry Mercer, built Mercer and Finch Commercial Interiors from a warehouse near the old industrial stretch outside Hartford. It wasn't flashy. The company designed and supplied fixtures for hotels, hospital lobbies, office towers, restaurants, and those expensive corporate spaces where the chairs look uncomfortable on purpose. Grandpa loved it. He loved the smell of lumber samples. He loved walking job sites in scuffed work boots even after he could afford nicer shoes. When I was a kid, he used to take me downtown on Saturdays, stop at Dunkin' on Farmington Avenue, and let me sit in the passenger seat with a hot chocolate while he explained why one hotel lobby felt warm and another felt like a dentist's waiting room. My father, Donovan Mercer, inherited the company when Grandpa stepped back. He inherited the office with the skyline view, the membership at the Hartford Club, the table at charity galas, and the kind of respect people give rich men before they check whether the rich man is actually good at anything. What he did not inherit was Grandpa's discipline. My mother, Celeste, treated Mercer and Finch like a lifestyle fund. She called her shopping trips brand maintenance. She called private car service client-facing transportation. My younger sister Brielle had a company card, a tiny office with a pink velvet chair, and the title creative liaison, which meant she occasionally changed the flowers in the reception area and then posted about building an empire. And then there was me. I was the daughter who asked too many questions, the daughter who read contracts at dinner, the daughter who didn't laugh when Dad said something wasn't my concern. Grandpa used to say I had a numbers brain and a stubborn heart. My father hated that. Not because it was insulting, because it was a compliment. The old wound in our family came from one night in particular. At the company's 50th anniversary event at a hotel ballroom near the Connecticut River, Grandpa made a toast in front of employees, vendors, family friends, and half the people my father spent his life trying to impress. He lifted his glass and said, "If Mercer and Finch is still here 50 years from now, it'll be because somebody like Luna understands the bones of it, not the shine, the bones." People clapped. My father smiled like a man holding a cracked tooth in his mouth. Later, outside the ballroom, near the coat check, I heard him tell my mother, "He made me look like a placeholder." My mother said, "Then stop acting like one." That was probably the last time she ever told him the truth. After Grandpa died, there wasn't some dramatic will reading where everyone gasped like a bad TV movie. There was an estate attorney's office, a conference table, weak coffee, and my father holding one leather folder on his lap like it had state secrets inside. The attorney said the estate was mostly structured through trusts and corporate voting shares. My father would remain in control of the company. I was told there were successor provisions involving me, but when I asked what that meant, my father cut in. "Not today, Luna," I said. "I'm just asking what Grandpa wanted." He gave me this tired little smile. "Your grandfather wanted us to be a family. Try that first." My mother stared at her manicure. Brielle sighed like I had asked everyone to do algebra. So I shut up. I hate that part. I hate it because I knew something felt off, but grief makes you let people get away with things you'd normally question. You don't want to be the person arguing over trust documents 2 weeks after a funeral. Over the next few years, I built my own career in corporate restructuring. Basically, I helped companies clean up ugly financial messes before lenders or vendors tore them apart. It was boring to explain at parties, but useful in real life. My family used that when it suited them. Dad would call me when a vendor threatened to sue. "Can you glance at this contract? Nothing major." Mom would send invoices and say, "Your father is swamped. Just tell us if anything looks scary." Brielle once texted me a photo of a lease agreement and wrote, "Can you make this less legally? LOL." But they still treated me like I was difficult. At Thanksgiving one year, Brielle said, "Luna doesn't do family vibes. She does spreadsheets and resting lawyer face." My mother laughed and said, "Some people are made to be warm, some are made to be useful." I looked up from my plate. She added, "Don't take it like that. Useful is good." Nobody at that table defended me. Not one person. The real mess started on a Thursday morning in March. Cold, gray, very Connecticut. The kind of day where the snow on the curb has turned black and everybody is mad on I-84 for no specific reason. My father asked me to come to the office downtown. Not lunch, not coffee. The office. Grandpa's old office was on the top floor, facing the skyline and the gold dome of the Capitol if you stood at the right angle. My father had kept Grandpa's walnut desk, brass lamp, and the black and white photo of him standing in front of the first warehouse. When I walked in, my mother was by the window in a cream sweater set, holding a latte from the cafe downstairs. Brielle was sitting in Grandpa's leather chair, scrolling her phone, wearing sunglasses indoors like she was hiding from paparazzi at Bradley Airport. My father had documents spread across the desk. "Come in," he said. "Don't hover." I stayed near the door. "What's going on?" He gave me that fake soft voice parents use when they've already decided you're unreasonable. "We're giving you what you always wanted." I looked at the papers. "Which is?" "The company." Brielle snorted. "Congrats, boss babe." My mother shot her a look, but not enough of one. Dad pushed a stack toward me. "The board needs fresh energy. I'm tired. Your grandfather believed in you, and honestly, I'm done fighting that ghost." That sounded honest enough to scare me. I stepped closer and started reading. There was a transfer of operational authority, an appointment as interim CEO, a transition agreement, bank forms, then a separate document with a yellow tab, personal guarantee. I tapped it. "Why am I personally guaranteeing anything?" Dad leaned back. "It's temporary." "How much?" He scratched the side of his jaw. 6 million. 6 million is not temporary. 6 million is a house in Farmington with a panic room. Brielle muttered, "Here we go." I flipped through the transition agreement. It said I would assume responsibility for active disputes, debt negotiations, payroll stabilization, vendor claims, compliance matters, and lender reporting as of the effective date. That wasn't a promotion. That was a hazmat suit with my name stitched on it. "I need my attorney to review this," I said. Dad's face tightened. "We don't have time for your whole process." "My whole process is reading before signing." Mom put her coffee down. "Luna, don't turn a family moment into a deposition. This is a legal document. This is your grandfather's legacy." "No," I said, still looking at the guarantee. "This is a bank asking for my skin in the game." Dad stood up. "Payroll is due tomorrow." That was the first thing that made the room tilt. Payroll. He had not mentioned payroll. "How bad is it?" I asked. He looked at my mother, then back at me. "It's manageable if everyone stops acting precious." I said, "Define manageable." Brielle laughed under her breath. "Oh my God, can you not do the interrogation voice for 5 seconds? Dad slid Grandpa's black pen across the desk. "If you care about the people who work here, sign." My mother added quietly, "If you care about this family." Brielle lifted her phone, not all the way, just enough. I looked at her. "Are you recording me?" She made a face. "Relax. It's not that deep. It's a personal guarantee for $6 million. Yeah, and you love being the serious one. This is your Super Bowl." Dad didn't tell her to put the phone down. That was when I understood he wanted a scene. If I refused, I was the cold daughter who let employees suffer. If I signed, I became the idiot holding the bag. And still, I almost did it. I really did. Because Grandpa's photo was right there. Because payroll meant real people. Because some pathetic part of me still wanted my father to say, "I knew I could count on you." Instead, I said, "I'll accept temporary operational review today. I'm not signing a personal guarantee without independent counsel." The room got quiet. Dad's voice dropped. "That's not how trust works." "No, that's exactly how documents work." Mom looked at me like I had tracked mud onto a white rug. "Henry was wrong about you." That landed harder than yelling would have. I picked up my bag and walked out before they could see my hands shaking. By dinner, my father had sent a family-wide email. Aunts, cousins, retired executives, family friends, everyone. Subject line, Luna's decision. He wrote that I had refused to help stabilize Mercer and Finch unless I was fully shielded from personal risk. He said he was heartbroken. He said Grandpa had believed I had character, but maybe he had mistaken competence for loyalty. My phone lit up for hours. Your dad has carried that company forever. This isn't the time to be selfish. You always wanted control. Now you're backing out? One cousin texted. Not gonna lie, this is giving greedy. I sat on my kitchen floor in West Hartford with my coat still on, reading messages from people who had no clue what I had been asked to sign. For about 10 minutes, I wondered if I was the problem. Then Adrian came over. Adrian Vale is my fiancé. And yes, he's wealthy. I know how that sounds in a story like this. But he wasn't some magic billionaire boyfriend who swooped in with a checkbook and fixed my life. If anything, Adrian is annoyingly calm. The kind of calm that makes you want to throw a pillow at him during a crisis. My family barely knew him, but my father remembered him. Years earlier, before Adrian and I dated, he pitched a financing proposal to Mercer and Finch. He was younger then, sharp but not polished, wearing a suit that didn't quite fit right in the shoulders. My father rejected him in front of 3 executives. People like you don't build empires, Dad told him. You beg to get near them. Adrian never forgot it. He just filed it away, which is somehow worse. That night, he read my father's email twice. Then he said, "He's setting you up." I know. No, Luna. I mean, the mess is already known. He's not asking you to save the building. He's asking you to stand in it when the inspector shows up. He opened his laptop at my kitchen table and asked for every photo I had taken of the documents. I said, "I don't have the full debt schedule." Adrian looked up. "That's not a small detail." "No kidding. It's the detail." The next morning, I called Nadine, the company controller. She'd worked at Mercer and Finch since before I was born. She used to sneak me peppermints from the reception desk when Grandpa brought me in after school. When I asked for the debt schedule, she went quiet. "Luna," she said, "are you authorized yet?" "Not formally." Another pause, then she said, very low, "Do not sign anything without Schedule C." "What's Schedule C?" She let out a tiny, humorless laugh. "Exactly. My father had given me Schedule A and Schedule B. No Schedule C. That missing schedule became the loose thread. I hired my own attorney, Marin Soto, who had an office near New Haven and the personality of a locked filing cabinet. I mean that as a compliment. She didn't do family drama, she did paper. Marin requested the full transition packet. Dad's attorney ignored her for 4 days. On the 5th day, a courier delivered a new packet. Schedule C was inside. Contingent liabilities, not 6 million, 17.8 million. Vendor claims, a tax payment plan, a defaulted warehouse lease in Windsor Locks, 2 subcontractor lawsuits, a lender covenant violation, a pending claim about misclassified expenses. And the bridge loan my father wanted me to guarantee wasn't just to cover payroll. It was to keep the lender from calling a much larger note. Marin read it and said, "Your father didn't offer you an inheritance, he offered you the blast radius." I laughed once because I didn't know what else to do. Then she pointed to a line near the bottom. "Why does this say trustee notification pending?" I stared at it. "I have no idea." That line led us to Mr. Ellison, Grandpa's retired estate attorney. He lived in Vermont, used email like it was a personal attack, and still remembered Grandpa's documents better than my father wanted him to. On a call with Marin, he said, "Henry did not give Donovan unconditional control." I gripped the edge of Adrian's dining table. Mr. Ellison explained that Grandpa amended the family voting trust 6 months before he died. My father could control the company, but there was a misconduct trigger. If an independent audit found he had diverted company assets, hidden material debt, or tried to shift undisclosed liabilities to a named successor, his voting shares would convert to non-voting shares. Control would pass to me. Marin asked, "Was Luna notified?" Mr. Ellison said, "She was supposed to be." There wasn't a secret will hidden in an attic. There was something less dramatic and much more believable. A trust amendment, certified mail receipts, attorney correspondence, and a memo from Grandpa. The memo said, "Luna must be informed of her successor rights. Donovan's discomfort is not a legal excuse." I read that sentence until my eyes hurt. The audit took 3 months. During those 3 months, my mother left voicemails that sounded calm enough to be played in a spa. "No decent daughter audits her father," she said once. Betrayal posted vague stories about dark feminine betrayal energy, and when family turns jealous. She tagged herself at Blueback Square one afternoon with shopping bags and wrote, "Healing is expensive." That same week, the auditors flagged her company card for a $14,000 stylist invoice. When I texted her, "Did you charge a stylist to Mercer and Finch?" she replied, "It was for brand optics. Be so for real." The auditors found plenty more. My father had routed payments through a consulting company owned by a golf friend in Glastonbury. My mother's spa trips were coded as client hospitality. Brielle's apartment furniture was listed as showroom staging. Private dinners in Westport, flights out of Bradley, charity tickets, designer clothes, all tucked under vague categories like business development and executive recruitment. But the email that gutted me wasn't about money. It was from my father to his attorney 2 days before he called me into Grandpa's office. "Once Luna signs, the guarantees become her problem. I'll resign for health reasons after the transition. She always wanted the big chair. Let her sit in it while it burns." I stared at that line for a long time. The big chair. I hadn't wanted the chair. I had wanted him to stop punishing me for being the grandchild Grandpa trusted. The worst part was that Mercer and Finch really was in danger. Employees were scared, vendors were furious, projects were behind. My father had used real people as leverage because he knew I wouldn't want them hurt. So I took control. Not through his rigged transition agreement. Through the trust amendment. Marin notified the trustees. The audit findings were submitted. The independent trustee reviewed the records and activated the misconduct trigger. My father fought it, obviously. He said I had been manipulated by Adrian. He said the audit was biased. He said I was weaponizing grief, which was rich coming from a man who used Grandpa's photo as a prop. Adrian's firm quietly purchased part of the distressed debt through a fund. He didn't announce it. He didn't walk around like some finance superhero. He just took one of the knives away from my throat and gave me room to work. I became acting CEO with no champagne, no inspirational montage, and no cute office makeover, just angry vendors, nervous employees, frozen credit, a CFO who quit by email, and a payroll team that looked at me like I might be another Mercer disaster. There were days I cried in my car in the parking garage off Asylum Street before going upstairs. There were days I ate vending machine crackers for lunch and pretended that was a choice. There were days I hated my father so much I scared myself. But the company slowly stabilized. We terminated the Windsor Locks warehouse lease, cut vanity sponsorships, removed family cards, settled vendor claims, rebuilt lender reporting. Nadine became interim CFO because she knew where every bad number had been buried and had the backbone to say it out loud. I fired Brielle from her fake role. She called me within 3 minutes. "You're actually insane," she said. "You didn't have a job." "I had a title." "You had a chair and Wi-Fi." She gasped like I had slapped her. "You're obsessed with humiliating me." "No, Brielle, I'm obsessed with not paying for your throw pillows through corporate expenses." Mom called me cruel. Dad called me unstable. A few relatives called me too aggressive, which is what people call women when the facts are annoying. 9 months later, payroll was steady. A year later, we won a hospital interiors contract in New Haven that Grandpa would have bragged about to strangers in line at Dunkin'. Mercer and Finch posted its first clean quarterly report in years. That was when my father wanted back in. His new attorney sent Marin a letter claiming the trust trigger had been activated under emotional pressure and third-party interference. He wanted voting control restored, an advisory role, back pay, and a public statement saying the audit had been misunderstood. Brielle texted me, "Can you just give Dad a chairman thing or whatever so everyone can move on?" I wrote back, "Is this about Dad or your company card?" She replied, "You're so weird." Mom left me a voicemail. "Your father is willing to forgive you," she said, "but you need to stop making him look small." I saved it. The final meeting happened because Dad demanded it. He refused Marin's office, refused Zoom, refused a neutral conference room. He wanted Grandpa's office. Fine. When I walked in, he was sitting behind Grandpa's desk like he had staged himself there. Mom sat to his right. Brielle was by the window, arms folded, sunglasses on again because apparently consistency matters. His attorney was there. 2 board members were there too, both looking like they'd rather be stuck in Merritt Parkway traffic. Dad pointed to the chair across from him. "Sit down, Luna." I stayed standing. Marin stood beside me. Adrian was not in the room yet. Dad pushed a packet toward me. "Let's stop playing games." I read the first page. Reinstatement agreement. Release of claims. Public correction. Restoration of voting control. Continued CEO support from me for 6 months. I looked up. So I clean it up, you take it back, and I lie about what happened? He smiled tightly. I'd phrase that differently. I bet you would, Mom sighed. Do you hear yourself? This is why nobody can talk to you. Marin said, my client is not signing a release. Dad ignored her. This is family business. No, I said. This is company business. Family business was you lying to my face in Grandpa's office. Brielle pulled off her sunglasses. Can we not do the trauma TED Talk? I turned to her. You charged a stylist to a company that almost missed payroll. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, you're still on that? It was one invoice. It was the easiest invoice to explain to people. That shut her up. Dad leaned forward. You think that because you got a few documents and your boyfriend bought some debt, you're untouchable? No. Good. I think because Grandpa wrote the trust correctly, you're not. His face hardened. I opened my folder and placed one page on the desk, the email. Let her sit in it while it burns. Mom looked at it and went pale around the mouth. Brielle whispered, Dad, what is that? He didn't answer. I placed the trust amendment beside it. Then the trustee notice, then the audit summary, then the misclassified expense schedule, then Grandpa's memo. Dad stared at the papers like they had betrayed him. You had no right digging through my private business. It was corporate money. It was my company. It was Grandpa's company, I said. Then it became evidence. The door opened. Adrian walked in with his fund attorney. He didn't smile. He didn't posture. He placed a folder on the desk. As of this morning, he said, my firm represents the largest secured creditor group. Dad looked up slowly. Adrian said, you tried to bury her in debt. Bad news, Donovan. I own part of the dirt now. Marin gave him a side eye like she wanted to invoice him extra for that sentence. I did not laugh. Barely. Dad stood. This is revenge. Adrian shrugged. You keep saying that like it changes the documents. Marin slid the settlement packet across the desk. It required my father to resign from any remaining advisory role, drop his voting control challenge, repay a negotiated portion of misclassified personal expenses over time, cooperate with corrected filings, and stop contacting employees about internal company matters. In exchange, Mercer and Finch would not pursue additional civil claims unless he breached the agreement. It was firm. It was legal. It was more generous than he deserved. Dad looked at me. You'd do this to your own father? I reached into my bag and took out Grandpa's black pen, the same one he had pushed toward me when he wanted me to sign the guarantee. I set it on the desk. You told me if I loved this family, I'd sign, I said. So sign. Mom started crying, but not for me. Luna, she whispered, please don't make him small. And that right there broke something cleanly. Not loudly, not dramatically, just clean. Because she knew. She knew what he had tried to do to me. She just cared more about him feeling embarrassed than me being destroyed. He did that himself, I said. Brielle started crying too. So what happens to us? I looked at her, and I didn't feel happy. I felt exhausted. You live on money that's actually yours. She wiped her face. That's so messed up. No, I said. That's called normal. Dad signed. He didn't apologize. He didn't look sorry. He signed with this tight, angry little motion, then pushed the papers back like the pen had personally offended him. Before he left, he said, your grandfather would hate what you've become. I picked up Grandpa's memo and tapped one line. Grandpa put it in writing because he knew what you were. For once, my father had no comeback. The consequences were not cinematic. Nobody got dragged out in handcuffs. There was no screaming in the lobby. Real life is usually quieter and more annoying. My father lost control. My mother lost access to corporate money. Brielle lost the fake title, the office, and the apartment stipend. Nobody admitted existed until Nadine found it coded under regional showroom support. A few relatives sent me awkward messages like, we didn't know the whole situation, which is not the same thing as, I'm sorry. The board stayed. Nadine became permanent CFO. We built actual financial controls. No family credit cards, no vague reimbursements, no brand optics nonsense. My father still tells people I stole his inheritance. Some believe him. Some just pretend to because it's easier at cocktail parties. That used to crush me. Now it mostly tells me who not to invite into my life. Adrian and I are still together. And no, he didn't rescue me. He helped me. Big difference. I had the documents, I made the calls, I sat in the ugly meetings, I fired people who had kids and mortgages. I took the blame from relatives who preferred a clean lie over a messy truth. Sometimes I still miss the family I thought I had. That part doesn't disappear because you win. Some evenings, when the office is quiet and downtown Hartford starts glowing blue-gray outside the windows, I sit in Grandpa's chair and look at the old photo of him in front of the warehouse. I used to think inheritance meant being chosen. Now I think it means being trusted with something heavy enough to test what you're made of. My father handed me a trap because he thought I was desperate for approval. He wasn't wrong, for a long time I was, but I'm not anymore. So yeah, maybe this is an inheritance story. Maybe it's a family betrayal story. Maybe it's a revenge story, depending on how you define revenge. I didn't ruin anyone's life. I didn't scream, slash tires, or go full villain. I just stopped letting my toxic family hide behind Grandpa's name while they treated a stolen inheritance like their personal ATM. Karma didn't show up with thunder. It showed up as trust documents, audit schedules, bank records, signed releases, corrected filings, and one black pen placed back on the same desk where the lie started. What would you have done if your family tried to trap you with debt, then demanded the company back after you saved it? Would you ever forgive a father who hid a trust clause and tried to use his own daughter as a financial shield? Comment what you think, because honestly, some days I still wonder if peace and forgiveness are the same thing. Thank you for listening. If you like inheritance stories, revenge stories, and messy family drama where the receipts do the talking, please like and subscribe for more. Word count estimate, 2,930 words. Suggested title, My Father Trapped Me with the Family Company's Debt, then demanded it back after I saved it. Suggested thumbnail text, Sign the Debt. Main keywords, inheritance stories, revenge stories, family betrayal, stolen inheritance, will reading, toxic family, secret will, family drama, karma.